Good afternoon, everybody. It's November 7th, 2023. Welcome, newcomers, and welcome back to my channel. This is Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading. Thank you so much for all the positive feedback about my reading the book Gang Stalking and Psychic Procession, Servants to the Master Builders of Illusion. So at least 5 people said, yes, keep reading. And there are at least 2 chapters that I'm going to read today and complete the one that I was reading yesterday, which starts on page 31. But please remember to hit the like button, thumbs up. It helps combat the cyber stalkers, etc. I just want to address some feedback I received also. Turtle Days, thank you for saying that the possibility of my being targeted is because of my area of study in graduate school, which is ADHD alternatives. The alternatives to medicating children diagnosed or falsely diagnosed with ADHD. And of course, back then, which is at this point a decade ago, it wasn't popular for people to talk about not medicating children. I knew from the beginning, though, because I was very involved in raising my own daughter as a divorced single mom, although I know some single parents are not involved with their children, but I was. I was the Girl Scouts leader, I was the brownies mom, I was the cookie mom, so people would pick up all the cookies in my garage. I drove my daughter back and forth to gymnastics and ballet and soccer. I had all the parties at my house. We had sleepovers, Valentine's Day parties. We had like a lot of fun and stuff. And all of my daughter's friends would tell me or confide in me, tell me a lot of stories. And I watched them grow up. I watched them grow up from, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years old to their teenage years. And unfortunately, you start to see some behaviors early on, and then how they become medicated and how that affects them. And one in particular girl I won't mention, but she became very hypersexualized. I knew what it was. It really wasn't her. Her brain was hijacked with pharmaceuticals, with amphetamines, a methylphenidate, which is Ritalin. So she started having sex at a very young age and being in a very long-term relationship with a sexual boy for quite a long time. I think they might even still be together. I'm not sure. But I remember thinking that her behavior compared to the rest of her friends was bizarre. There was another one of my daughter's friends. They were actually twins. And the irony is both of their parents were psychologists and psychiatrists, and both of them were medicated with very bad pharmaceutical drugs. One was an antipsychotic, and she would complain to me about how she was feeling. I would, ask her, notice her behavior was changing. I'd ask her if she's okay. And then she'd tell me, she said, it's the medicine. It's like, what medicine? Like, are you not feeling well? No, I'm taking X, Y, and Z. So I was very involved in knowing what was going on with my daughter's friends because they were around all the time. We all hung out together. My daughter's friends would even comment on the fact that my daughter would tell me things. And like she would say something to me, and I don't even remember right now. And then her friends would turn around and say, "You told your mother that?" And my daughter would think nothing of it. That's just the way it is when you're a divorced single mom and it's just you and your daughter and a bunch of cats and a chinchilla. You talk. So, unfortunately or not, I was privy to a lot of what was going on with her friends. And I watched them grow up from being little toddlers to teenagers and, even beyond that. So, it's quite possible, yes, it's quite possible that I'm targeted because of my area of study. But I'm also a divorce person, and I was in court literally for 3 years plus. I spent a lot of money on my divorce. I went through lawyers and judges, you have no idea. Like, if I sat down, the judge that finally divorced me, I loved him. His name was Judge Locasio in Freehold, and a lot of people did not like him at all, but I loved this guy. Like, he was hilarious. Like, he even turned to my ex-husband, and he's the judge that actually ordered my ex-husband to finally pay his alimony and child support. All the other judges were like, yeah, we looked at your invoices, we looked at your expenses, and yes, he should pay this and that. But this is the one judge that put his foot down and held my ex-husband to the ground. So I loved him. Then there was another judge, I'm not remembering his name right now, but this is like when I was pro se going after my child support like a decade later, because my ex-husband's a deadbeat dad. Didn't pay his alimony or child support or anything else. And they were actually protesting outside the court about this judge. And again, I'm not remembering his name right now. But he was good by me. He was good by me. He signed off on my orders. He got me a bench warrant for the arrest of my ex-husband. I think it's just that I provide a lot of documentation and evidence, and I clearly tag my exhibits so that a judge doesn't have to go looking for stuff. And he just granted whatever it was that I wanted. He just basically reinforced and re-granted things that had been decided before. So I've been before judges and lawyers. I fired lawyer. My ex-husband's lawyer despised me. And then even after my divorce, I hired somebody to install a patio, a paver patio. It cost me a lot of money. I think it was like $6,000 or something like that. It's just a lot of money. And after it was installed, there were some problems with it. And then the guy's son came to clean it, destroyed the patio. I took them to court. Long story short, I won treble damages, but his lawyer actually kicked me out of his office. I was dropping off some documents to sign because I live so close. I figured, you know what? Why should I mail it? I'll just go over there and get a signature, save on the certified mail and the time. Just go over there and drop off my documents, have them sign a letter of receipt, and then I'll leave. Well, I walked in, and his lawyer kicked me out. He threatened to call the police on me. So, you know what? It's very possible that he nominated me for the program, too. But even before that, I got involved with, and I can't say their names. I mean, if I did, you would absolutely know who they were. But some celebrity narcissists, and this is as a result of my being a professional astrologer. And please, I don't want to hear the feedback about the Christians and the astrology and stuff. Astrology goes back to ancient times, the Native Americans, planted by the moon cycles. And guess what? Jesus, what did they do? They followed the North Star, to find baby's Jesus. So please, let's not discuss astrology here other than, yes, I'm a professional astrologer. I've done readings. I've done consultations. As above is below. So, as a result of my being an astrologer, I came to the notice of these celebrities because, unbeknownst to most of you guys, many celebrities and politicians have professional astrologers. They're deeply, deeply involved in astrology and the tarot and all of that stuff. They're a lot of them are on spiritual paths, believe it or not. So I got on this person's mailing list. We started corresponding, and they're very cautious about telling you who they are. I didn't know who this person was. I probably, like a couple of months later, I find out, yeah, they're musicians. Oh, yeah, well, what do you do? And then he tells me, it's like, oh, what band are you in? It's like, oh, you're with that band. You're with that group. Like, yeah, like, I know that group. Like, I really like that group. And then they'd start introducing me to their other friends who are more well-known and their children and stuff like that. But then, unfortunately, they introduced me to a woman who was a friend of theirs who was moving to New Jersey, thought that it would be great for us to hook up together. I could introduce her to my friend. She was also interested in astrology, hang out together and stuff. But this woman was a problem. And months later or a year later, whatever, she was doing some nasty stuff to me. And I finally went to the guy that I met with first, the first musician. And I said, listen, I normally don't talk about other people about this. But I told him what was happening, how disturbing it was. I said, I just want to let you know this is happening. And from that point forward, they were like protecting her. She's actually a lawyer, or a former lawyer too. Very intelligent woman, but definitely psychological problems. Really envious and jealous. Very backstabbing, like a gang stalker, okay? She fits in that mode of a gang stalker, very psychic and stuff like that. And she would do and say things that would just really rub me the wrong way. She borrowed money from me. She has more money than God, but she would borrow money from me, never give it back, etc. She stole things from me, personal possessions that led me to believe that she was performing spells on me. So anyway, it was like from that point forward, they all started treating me differently. And then there was a distance. And of course, I was in graduate school. I was getting my Reiki Master Teacher degree, certifications and stuff. So I kind of backed off a little bit from them. And then we just completely lost contact with each other. I couldn't even tell you exactly what the deciding factor was, but they started acting as if they were gang stalkers, okay? I didn't know what that meant back then, but it certainly could have been them. They could have been involved. In fact, maybe they came into my life for that purpose. I just don't know. There's so many deciding factors, so many people that could have nominated me, quote unquote, and besides the fact that my father worked for IBM in the International Research Department. He worked with the research scientists, and they stole a lot of his ideas. That one of it, which is now trading on the stock market, and I believe they offed my father and targeted my father and his wife, who developed brain cancer out of nowhere. There were no cell phones back in the day. Oh, everything was a landline. Very bizarre. She ended up losing her eyesight. You know, how Illuminati-like is that? Brain damage, and then she dies. And that's when my father started traveling. He had already been retired from IBM, but my father's quite brilliant. He had an extremely high IQ. He was an inventor. He was a chess champion, but he was also targeted. I mean, I know that now. So it might be some family thing. And I know that my brother was getting V2K. He only confided that in me after my mother passed away. And it's like, wow, you know, like I thought that my brother was hearing voices and stuff because he just smoked too much marijuana. He was just like a pothead his whole life. And I just figured he was experiencing some marijuana psychosis, which is a thing, by the way. Marijuana psychosis is temporary. You never know when you're going to get it, but if you're smoking too much pot all the time, over a long period of time, you too can develop marijuana psychosis. Just putting it out there, folks. So, yeah, so that's now 3 people in the family or 4 people in the family that are targeted. So it might be a family thing. It might be that, you know, life goes on as normal until there is a triggering factor that gets you in this program. Well, you know, they've got the watchful eyes everywhere. And again, it could be a triggering event. I also dated a guy for almost 7 years whose family was in organized crime. And when I say organized crime, I mean like the real organized crime. Like these are the big guys that put hits on people, you know, that go to prison, that get off, that they dress nice with the, you know, I've discussed it before, and I discuss it because, you know, I'm familiar with it, okay? I'm familiar with it. I grew up with it. I grew up in the Bronx. Everybody thinks I'm just from New Jersey. No, I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up in the Bronx. I moved to Queens as a single person. And then I moved to New Jersey, where I lived for 30 years. But no, I'm a native New Yorker. I lived in New York City. I lived in the Bronx. I grew up in the Bronx. So I grew up with, you know, tough guys. How do I phrase it on any other way? So it could be that. It could be because I dated the nephew of a head guy. Who knows? I don't know. It could be so many factors. could certainly be the ADHD research, because we all know for a fact that, you know, alternative health practitioners are off all the time. But I've certainly pissed off a lot of people in my life, not intentionally, you know, just telling the truth, which obviously pisses off everybody these days. So, and I wanted to tell people also, I have a lot of newcomers now. You don't really know who I am. People are saying, well, I thought it was homesteading. Okay, so my channel was originally ADHD Alternatives. I changed it to Alternative Homesteading after I moved here and realized that, you know what, I'm no longer performing the ADHD research. It's a tag. I don't want that tag anymore. I don't want people questioning me about it anymore. I don't have my website anymore, you know, all of that stuff. And I'm not doing that type of counseling anymore. If people ask me questions, I'm more than happy to give you my personal and professional opinion about it. However, so I started homesteading. I started gardening. I started actually on TikTok. I started posting videos on TikTok and then transferring them to YouTube because I didn't know how to work YouTube. TikTok was really easy. You know, you can post anything there. And I was actually on TikTok getting way more views and likes than I still get on YouTube. That's where my neighbor video went viral, actually. And then I brought it to YouTube. So, to give you that background, okay, my background then is, grew up in the Bronx, lived in New York City. I actually lived on East End and East End Avenue and 83rd Street, which is bitterly cold in the wintertime. It's like a wind tunnel. I lived in a 5-story walk-up, so while I was working during the day, going to school at night, I would have to come home and walk up 10 flights of stairs to get to the top floor. Yeah, so, and I was living with that boyfriend at the time, the mob guy's nephew. So, so I was studying psychology. So my undergraduate degree is abnormal, deviant, and violent psychology with a concentration in addictive behaviors. And then I went on to get my master's in psychology with a concentration in health, alternative health solutions and addictive behaviors. I have I'm a Reiki master teacher. I'm an interfaith minister. Yes, I am. I'm an interfaith minister. I don't do anything with that anymore. I have 2 certifications in human resources generalist, one from Cornell University and one from the Society of Human Resources Management. I'm a Psi Chi Honor Society student. I got really good grades, underneath a 4.0 in both undergraduate and graduate school. Let's see what else. I was a notary public in New York City. I was a notary public in New Jersey. And I am a certified, now I'm going to have to say this correctly, I'm a certified clinical hypnotist. The reason is, I'm not saying hypnotherapy, because in some states the word therapy belongs to psychologists and psychiatrists, okay? So, I have a phone call coming in right now, which is intentionally interfering with this recording. I'm not going to answer it, and hopefully this is still recording. Okay, very good. That's the second time that phone number came through, and it's a prank call. But anyway, so just to give you some background on me, who I am, I moved to a 64-acre farm in remote rural Kentucky on the edge of a national forest. I raise chickens, guinea fowl, that I call them my guinea gang stalkers. And I have a 501c3 nonprofit cat rescue called Freya's Cat Rescue. Donations are always accepted. You can get that information on my homepage and usually in the description section. We're Chewy.com partners. We have a wish list. We have a wish list on Amazon, Freya's Cat Rescue. So items can always be donated. So I'm going to get into, that's me. That's who I am. And ta-da, I'm a targeted person since Manalapan, New Jersey. I believe it was around 2012. Around 2015, 14, people were following me, torturing my animals, killing my animals, my cats, bizarre things happening, deterioration of my furniture, my clothing. All of my books were sabotaged. I would come home and find urine underneath my stove plates. Megs B interviewed me. I have 3 or 4 or 5 testimonies on my channel. All you have to do is go to my homepage where there's the little magnifying glass and type in my name, Lorraine Valente, and you will pull up my interviews with Romola D, with Megs B. There are 2 of them, or 3 of them, and Ella Fraud. And yeah, I'm going to call her Fraud. It's Ella Fraud. She was the first person that I contacted when I discovered that I was actually targeted, when I figured out what it was. There's some videos there depicting the good old Manalapan police. Yeah, I caught them on camera, stalking me, leaving me voice messages, harassing me. The good old boys in Manalapan, yeah. But anyway, so that is about me for all the newcomers, all the news that's not fit to print. And the targeting followed me here to Kentucky. The people here are a lot more depraved. They're more sinister. They're more evil. 27 of my cats have become ill. Healthy cats ill, poisoned, stolen. And I just want to put a shout out there. Please say a prayer for Little Black Cat. Little Black Cat has been missing now. I think this is day 3. Highly unusual. I think that they stole Little Black Cat, which is a male cat who was dumped here, found his way here, got along with the other cats, and I have not seen him. Today makes day 3. So I'm going to start again from reading the book Gang Stalking and Psychic Possession, Servants of the Master Builders of Illusion, page 31. So I wanted to say this again. He says, here's an extract from my own book. So this is a book, guys. Implanted and Tortured in the UK. So you might want to look that up. I have not looked it up yet. Note how the perps behave similarly, maybe even telepathically, and the trouble and planning they go to just to piss somebody off, and the apparent glee they get out of such immature acts of persecution. So now this is the story he's going to tell. Okay? He says, I recognized something was off immediately. Something didn't feel right about this crew, which made a beeline to stand in front of my table. They were dressed appropriately for this alternative nightclub. They had earlobe stretchers, tattoos, and the lads with fashionable long beards and heavy silver jewelry all were in their early 20s. They were all dressed much the same as the clientele and blended in, but something didn't feel right about them. They were hand signaling and exaggerating their expressions in the same way as when people perform a play in a large auditorium do, where any subtle gestures would not be noticed by those at the back, and so moments and expressions are exaggerated in order to project. A bit like the exaggerated movements of Parr the clown or hand signaling of deaf people. I heard my cat's name mentioned, groan. And then they began shouting loudly, standing in front of the dance floor, blocking my view of the club. I've recognized the slim blonde girl in the wet look jeans and torn top as a gang stalker from the previous bar, where she too had also shouted my deceased cat's name out loud, and she had brushed past me. The dark-haired, slim guy she was with now had also been in the bar that I had just left. I moved away to another side of the club. In about half an hour, they entered the dance floor in my immediate view and were exaggerating, swigging back cans of beer with unnecessary flourish, like someone playing a drunken pirate in a local theater, I thought. None looked drunk. They were acting. The dark-haired lad turned his head and looked back at me. He got out his phone, and they all got out their phones, and they all began watching their phones concurrently, mesmerized by and chatting about the same thing they were simultaneously viewing on their phones. Then suddenly, as if directed by whatever he had been viewing on his phone, the dark-haired lad pulled his trousers down, exposing his bare bottom, and bent over, put both hands on his thighs. The other three threw back their heads in synchronization, simulating authentic mock laughter, exaggerated for my benefit. The lad glared, puppy-eyed at me all the time that he did this. Oh, that's disgusting, folks. Unbeknownst to anyone else at the nightclub, was that the lad had just imitated the exact pose and facial expression that I had shown to the nurse at the hospital and the policeman. Let me explain. The pose the lad was doing in front of me was the same pose that I had found myself in on the roadside after suddenly becoming aware of where I was when I came to being abducted from the city center a week prior. It was uncanny. Not only did he replicate the exact same pose, he looked around with big puppy eyes as to convey a "help me, help me, I don't know where I am or what I'm doing here, I'm scared" expression. His adoption of the facial expression drew another bolt of laughter from the crew. He was doing a performance for sadistic intent. Amid the laughter, he looked back at me and curiously, just like the couple in the public library had done after they'd slyly communicated my family name and family grave whereabouts to me, which was then subsequently desecrated, he exhibited the same smug look. On both of these occasions, that smug look was uncanny. It was a look of pride, as if what they had done had elevated them in some way, celebrated among his toxic hierarchy. The crew came visibly energized after his display, yet they still could not dance. It was almost scary to see. The only way I could describe it is that it looked like they had got brand new bodies for the first time ever, and they didn't know how to control them to their full capacity yet. Either that or they were born deaf and were guessing the music, but unable to count the beats. No, even that wouldn't produce this result. People danced by feeling patterns. I felt a shiver. They didn't feel right to me. It was creepy, all four of them. There was something missing from these people. There was a hollowness. I ruminated on concepts that came to me as a natural explanation of mind, trying to find logic in what I'd seen and, more importantly, perceived. I toyed with ideas that their souls had been knocked out their bodies, and that their bodies were now mind-controlled by something, perhaps a computer, devoid of feeling patterns, and that the sadism was rewarded by EEG algorithms and was a substitute for a human soul, the only way they could feel anything. I sat in the club and wondered as I drank my beer and enjoyed. Avenge sevenfold, I heard muffled through my heavy-duty wax earplugs that were now necessary after being burnt with directed energy weapons. They came across as cyborgs, clones, or aliens. Something human was missing. Perhaps this continued persecution I was under and trauma was to knock me out of my body, so as to provide a home for whatever was controlling them to enter me. This group didn't act human. It didn't feel human. It wasn't like they couldn't dance. It wasn't just like they couldn't dance. I've been going to nightclubs for years and have seen lots of people who don't have rhythm dancing. Dancing communicates the feeling patterns that the dancer is feeling in response to the music. What I saw here in these people was different. It was more than just a lack of coordination. They didn't have any feel for what they were doing, really no idea. And they had all this, all four of them. All were dancing like they got brand new bodies and couldn't control them yet. Like they didn't even know what dancing was or why it was done. Every movement was odd, slightly delayed and exaggerated, like they were awakening dead or still on stage reading from a script. Now, given these two examples, tell me that these people are the same as you and I. Would you or any close associate of yours make an effort to arrange and cause what these two writers, each from a different continent, have described? The perpetrators are what author Dr. John Hall refers to in the title of his book as the new breed. They are indeed a new breed of human without the spark of divine origins which resides in the heart and which makes someone human. They represent an embodiment of that which has always aimed to take away from your true self and knowing truth on this earth. Its purpose is the same now as it always was, to entrain you more thoroughly within the illusion. On the surface, they represent a counterforce to hope, happiness, inspiration, freshness, and particularly innocence and the whimsical. By manipulating higher states into lower states through their persecution tactics, it empowers their ability to create more of the illusion. By downgrading pure spiritual energy into emotion and excitement, they create more illusion. The creation of this illusion or spiritual blindness is what helps them hide and allows them to continue to operate unsuspected. The gang stalkers are under the influence of an consciousness that is computer-like and not human. That consciousness is being directed by and working against the expression of mankind's higher mind and the opened heart chakra and the third eye or enlightened human condition. Regaining this condition, your true origins before the serpent came, involves the natural ousting of the false, the serpent. Many call this transmutation of pure spirit into illusion, and those that represent it achrontic or archons, the archons. It is in all expressions in various degrees of severity, not of oneself as such. It is its purpose to distract one away from oneself and inhibit the expression of that potential any way it can, using anyone or anything it can, quite simply because it depends on illusion in order for the world of duality that the master builders preside over to exist, to keep its dominion here on earth by preventing Homo spiritus. And I wanted to mention, when they keep referring to the master builder, folks, in numerology, there are master numbers. Some say there are 3, sometimes there are 4. It's 11, 22, 33, and sometimes 44. Yes. I believe master number 11 is the master empath, the intuitive. 22 is a master builder, but it's called something else. And 33... does that number sound familiar to anybody? 33 is a master builder. So that's what this woman is referring to in her book about why the master builders, the servants of the master builders of illusion. In numerology, the master numbers are 11, 22, 33, and sometimes 44. Names and references can get you caught up in the mentalistic and learned arguments, all distractions which would turn this into a history book and double its size. The aim of this book is to get you to look at what it and the alien energy running them does. By their fruits ye shall know them. The photographs on the back and front covers are genuine gang stalkers. They are the gang stalkers. Evil. The Anunnaki type form shape-shifted from an ordinary-looking woman who would not attract attention as looking unusual. As with the neighbor club crew, it was only her actions that were observed to be extremely bizarre. And this is what led me to filming her. As with much street theater, there was a sense of the otherworldly and unreality about what I was seeing. as if I was put under some kind of hypnosis while it happens. This preceded the manifestation of the Anunnaki-like and reptilian forms. The woman had with her a little blond boy. He was seen in human form to be wearing a red t-shirt, but in this frame, he disappeared, and other forms appeared in his place. A black, tar-like, much taller form with similar to the right of it and a greenish-brown reptilian face. All right, I'm going to turn to the back of the book and see if I see that. Okay, it's a little difficult to discern, folks. I'm just going to keep reading. The shape-shifting occurred in flashes that were too quick to be detected by my naked eye. The proof, however, registered in the digital medium, which can freeze the frames in a way the human eye can't. That's important, folks. Freezing the frames in a way the human eye can't. The woman that I was seeing and filming appeared human, but performed these skits as if in a trance, and as though she was unconscious that she was doing them. What I observed with my naked eye was a completely different scene than what the camera frames captured. The street theater is intended to disassociate you and cause a sense of unreality. It also has a ritual aspect. It's perpetrated at either the same place or involves the same elements, colors, phrases, and used each time. The participants are attempting to knock you out of your body, even temporarily. This may generate, and due to ritual, compound the negative energies over time and allow these entities the energies they need to manifest a stronger electromagnetic field, and so to allow these entities to jump in the dissociated, temporarily weakened vessel, which is you. It's trauma-based mind control. It's MK Ultra. The serpent has controlled things and solidified illusions within the minds of the people here on earth for a long time. Hence, the mystical serpent's gate and the very few that pass it and return to Eden. It guards your principalities fiercely. It is real and exists and is not some myth from long ago. Being a shape-shifting electromagnetic blueprint, it can change the material and matrix of the illusory, but it can't interfere with what's real. What's real doesn't form one of its principalities or holdings. That area is God's. And the serpent tries to keep you away from that area at all costs because it knows that once you get there, you're no longer captive of the chains of the illusions it controls people by down here on earth. To be free of the serpent, the master of dualities and the illusions it presides over, involves recognizing the it that is behind it and its various machinations. Due to most of the population being entranced within the illusion, totally hypnotized by it, as well as being bombarded by media spoon-feeding, discovering the truth, at least at present, means going it completely alone. Now we're getting on to page 38, chapter 2. The title of this chapter 2 is Freemasonry is the Church of the Serpent. Oh, they're going to love this one. The original maker of illusion and duality, the serpent, along with the Egyptian deities, still oversee the illusion which earthly Freemasonry manages and upholds. It is unthinkable to most that those at the very top use demons and fourth-dimensional energies, not only to maintain control over the populace living within the illusory world, but to antagonize and subvert those masses. It is also unthinkable to most that these high-level Satan practitioners, either due to ritual practice, trauma abuse, or invitation, allow fourth dimension, lower astral, or demons to possess and work through them. It is these omnipotent beings that run the world. King Solomon is revered by the master builders because he was bequeathed the keys to the control of the fourth earthly elements and spirits of the astral and psychic worlds. That meant that he had control over them to affect the material world that we live in. The pentacle is the magical symbol or access point to communion with these energies, and it is alleged that this symbol was given to King Solomon by Archangel Michael, inscribed on a magical ring. All the other sigils and magical incantations for summoning the daimons, D-A-I-M-O-N-S, and affecting this material world via the demons who can manipulate the more subtle forms of etheric world, whose blueprints underlie and exist within the frames of this realm, but are too fast and fine for us in normal consciousness to see, thus followed from the original knowledge gained by the magical sigil on this ring. Legend has it that King Solomon summoned the daemons and used their powers over the material and elemental worlds to build King Solomon's temple. Occultists and Satanists today still use these very ancient sigils and Hebrew incantations to contact the named daemons, each with their own particular character and dominion over facets of the ether and material world. Daemons exist within the human brain and influence reality from there. How daemons control people is by negativity. Do you hear that, folks? They control people by its negativity. That's why when we're joyful and stuff, they'll throw something in our path to create negativity. I just added that. That's not in the book. External reality is projected by the human brain. What is held in the subconscious and often unknown to conscious awareness influences external reality unintentionally. When one realizes that the world we live in is influenced by what goes on in the subconscious, we can then know the mechanism by which demons influence external reality. The spirits of the Goshya daemons are portions of the human brain. This power of one's subconscious mind to change reality has been harnessed by positive thinking methodologies, hypnosis, affirmations, and guided meditations, and is, karma permitting, not disputed. As King Solomon summoned and used demonic fourth dimensional energies as guard dogs. Oh, guard dogs! And to help him build his temple, likewise, high-level Freemasons. The master builders of our current society do the same. There you go, folks. The Freemasons are the master builders. Uh-huh. Yeah. Daemons if afflict en masse those perceived as a threat to the illusion. This is well known by aspirants as the Serpent's Gate. The daemons guard the gates that tie us to the master builder's illusion, not letting us be freed to go return to Eden and our principalities. In addition to supporting the master builder's illusion, these energies are defensive and sensitive to threats to what they represent, attacking those with increasing heart energy or chi. Through no fault of the victim's own, but due to genetics, hear this, guys, no fault of the victim's own, but due to genetics, karma, and the field they radiate. A person's increased spiritual power means that their positive effect on reality via dissembling the hold that the illusion has on the subconscious is seen as a challenge to these spirits that control by negativity and by dint of the mechanisms of illusion entrained in the human psyche. Top-level Freemasons, the Illuminati, many head top corporations use these demons effectively to uphold the structure which they and the serpent controlled. Demons cause madness in people, pull the rug out of the ladder, secure, known reality from under people, and prevent people from getting too high or cocky within their illusion. Crowley, as a Satanist and Scottish Rite 33-degree Mason, was open about using these demons, and he co-authored the Lesser Key of Solomon. In addition, homages to King Solomon are blatantly incorporated into the Masonic rites and the architecture of Masonic halls worldwide. Most of the Illuminati or corporate positions of power are secretive about the reasons behind this. A lot of suspect things go on. They don't want people putting pieces of this jigsaw together. Information is also denied the lower orders of Freemason business people, whom they deliberately deceive. Yep, I've been saying that for years. Those poor good people that they swipe up into their drama. It's much easier to invalidate that these very interesting references to Solomon, other Freemason demon, and Egyptian symbols as being just tradition. Those at the top of the Illuminati hierarchy are privileged to ideals and agendas which are not disclosed to the lower orders. Others are trapped by participation and can be easily blackmailed and ostracized by this large, powerful group. The nature of human sacrifice, and I have to say, I can't say it, the pedo, the child, the people that do that stuff, being inherent in the attainment of Illuminati power protocols. It is, after all, a commandment of Satanism to destroy one's heart, as conscience gets in the way of the ruthless required to knowingly make money from illusion, suffering, tears, and blood. One such well-known ritual participated in annually by presidents and the elite. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, guys. It's called the Cremation of Care ceremony, where effigies of INFANTS are thrown into flames beneath a giant stone idol of Moloch. Moloch is a daemon known as the eater of kiddos. There's also the belief among these elite, quote-unquote, Satanists that, quote, you can gain power by unaliving something that you really love, unquote. Those aren't the exact words, folks. It is in the commandments of Satanism that one must, quote, unalive one's heart and dedicate oneself wholly without stint to the great work of wickedness, unquote. Krishnamurti talks about the enormous energy required to remain present amid great sordidness, evils, and tension. It is in making you go unconscious, not present, by the perpetuation of great sordidness, and so getting you to losing your connection to your spirit or love by making you emotional. The rationale behind the cremation of care ritual and the Satanists' will to unalive their own hearts lies in the power they experience at not feeling vulnerable to evil or cruelty. After all, what stands in their way of ultimate power and causes suffering, if not empathy, in the heart? That's why the master builders of our material reality are all ruthless psychopaths. You hear that? That's why the master builders of our material reality are all ruthless psychopaths. It is demanded of them by the Luciferian faith, as it is their dedication to gathering the material, illusory, and superficial jewels, object status symbols that are seen to be valuable only in a world that values illusion. By cutting themselves off from their heart, they are willfully cutting themselves off from God. The heart is the key to knowing oneself, as being the glory and beauty of the whole universe. It is through increasing love and stillness we come to know what we are. Evil and the various daemons, raison d'être, is purely to keep you away from truth and stillness of mind, so it can be in control. Because killing one's heart destroys the ability to feel one's finer feelings. It reduces sensitivity, and such people actually need extreme sensationalism, materialism, and brutality, drugs and excitement to substitute for what they have lost, therefore giving themselves over to further demonic influencing. According to author and ex-33-degree Mason, his name is Leo Sagamini, Sagami, the Illuminati elite intend to rebuild Solomon's temple in Israel. Oh. Guys, what's going on in the world right now? The Illuminati elite intend to rebuild Solomon's temple in Israel. If true, then such an act would be an open declaration of the elite's reverence to King Solomon. For this to be revealed at all, they'll have people wondering as King Solomon's magical words and sigils are used as entry points or portals to communicate with the fourth dimensional entities, daemons, for the purpose of controlling third dimensional reality. Certainly symbols and references to King Solomon within Freemasonry abound, and unbeknownst to those below the 33rd degree, the practical use of Solomon's sigils and further degree knowledge of how to curry the favor of fourth dimensional entities and demons via blood, negative energy, and bodily fluids, is the bedrock of the higher levels of Masonic practice and fundamental to the master builder's ability to control the material illusion through that ruthlessness. Yes, guys, I'm going to add something to that. In the research, it is blood, pus, urine, feces that are attracted to these people. Blood, pus, urine, feces. Disgusting. At the highest levels of Satanism, as paralleled in the realized saint, the individual person is gone from the body. Unlike the realized man, though, it is not the energy of God or the divine that flows through the Satanist renunciate. Let me just plug in my phone here, folks. I just got a low battery alert. Let me just plug this in here. Plug it in here. I apologize for the delay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. It is also only by using human flesh, mind, and emotions that demons can influence things on Earth, because they exist as energies, electromagnetic blueprints that inhabit or assemble wavelengths, which are subatomic particles, also called scalar. These electromagnetic beings can control the matrix of reality by manipulating scalar waves. As the Luciferian elite are servants of these entities, it is the entities that are working through their flesh that get to fulfill the Luciferic agenda to overthrow God or truth and substitute it with illusion. In the true beast of Satanism, the practitioners have sold their souls for power over all that is material and transient, and as such, they are undoubtedly the rulers of our material and transient illusion here on earth. They don't want to let go of that power. The illusion is their beast. Not one little bit. They keep their place in a similar way that the serpent does, by the deliberate keeping of man from love, joy, and the glory of what he really is by distracting his energies and focus onto the mental aspect and transient things that exist outside of himself. The universal spirit of truth, present in everything, is that which the gang stalking tactics and technology are trying to quell. These dimensional and demonic energies can only affect this third dimension by working through people on Earth. Any energy of truth asserted by free will coming through an individual is antagonistic to the Luciferic agenda, not only because it allows the untruth of the illusion to be seen for what it is. Universal energies of truth, due to their higher electrostatic power, actually entrain the lower residual energies to energetically align to them, so transmuting them and changing them to more of what the substance of the higher is. The higher transmutes the lower. This is what is meant by good having power over evil. That's another one of the reasons why they're working so hard to diminish your light bodies and bully your universal spirit from your vessel body. These lower energies wish to dominate, even if just for a few minutes each day. They can only do this by guiding your beliefs or actions in any direction that will lower your energy. Because the serpent deals in illusion, its attacking methods to lower your chi are invariably based upon you buying into the illusions, the fear of death, the loss of how people will view the threat, the false persona mask that you call you. Humanity's subconscious being entrained by these illusions by the serpent energy can then be controlled by the serpent within them. This is possession and control of you via illusion planted within your subconscious. So why would anyone do this consciously? The ultimate Luciferian fantasy as proclaimed in the Bible is to have dominion over the earth and third dimension physical. Power over all others is described by Dr. David R. Hawkins as being the Luciferic temptation, quote unquote. It wants to hoodwink you into serving its own agenda, just as the original serpent hoodwinked Adam and Eve. The elite Satanists, the investment bankers, and heads of the corporations being the master builders of our material illusion, design it exactly as they like, using the serpent, the infection, in our subconscious to do so. By funding social conditioning and controlling all institutions and media, and through intelligence agencies, they keep control of the design years in advance. It is in their interest to foster our continued dependence upon and keep us an accomplice to their illusion. If our Luciferian elite, who control the major news media, many control corporations and banking, and who give directives to social conditioning institutes like Tavistock, wish to resurrect a temple for their daemon gods here on earth, then what other stuff do they do to get up to? Let's remember that the Freemasons violently stole the Key of Solomon, a book of knowledge of the methods to contact demons from the Knights Templar. And the architects of our corporate society still use Solomon's symbolism in the Mason temples. Covert tongue-in-cheek homages are paid to these daemons as a gift for favors asked by the Illuminati Freemasons or their moneyed corporations by giving the daemon fame in the form of statues or album designs picturing them. They reward and develop a rapport with these energies and to help to bring them further into our third dimensional reality, which is what these energies without bodies want. The other well-known gift to the demonic energies for their help are various kinds of, I don't know if I can say the word, sacrifices. It is the electromagnetic charge released into the ether during the offering up of the thing. I'm replacing the word. Or the effective energy of the person looking at the pictures or statues on the surrounding ether that the demons feed upon. These energy charges substantiate them and power them to come into our third dimensional range. The statues and homages are a way of keeping the demons alive in our collective consciousness without actually alluding to the full picture before we're ready. Icke, David Icke, has exposed the wide use of and the significance of this and other types of symbolism and its effect on the collective unconscious. Demonic energies, like any other energy, wants an outlet or a conduit for its existence. By eliminating the expression of the divine spirit in people, they are preparing the earth energy-wise so as to make it agreeable for the coming Messiah, which they intend to make real in this third dimension by coming through people. This is the party they're waiting for. It entails, and it always did, eliminating, not people, but the expression of the energy of God or truth coming through people into the world. The only real opponent and counterbalance to the serpent. As it has always done, it will rationalize the absurd, such as things as us becoming acceptable now. Children of 4 years old should cross-dress, using rhetoric to kid the mind. Impressions implanted by media and programming is why we value illusory corporate concepts. Those constructs are then reinforced by the acquisition of these things by others around us. So, confirming this media-led design of society and affirming what is real and valued by collective participation, at the root of it, unless the individual has no contact with society, these illusions controlled by the master builders are a distraction. That's why aspirants wishing to find the truth often secret away from society so as to avoid the constant affirming of the unreal that mostly everybody is programmed with and occupied. This possessed, hypnotized state was precursive to our fascination with technology. This in turn will lead us ever so gently to the current means to use technology for the total possession of our subconscious by the serpent energy. Despite all of the advances and fascination, it is simply the evolution of the original serpent which has possessed us by our subconscious all along. Different toys, new distractions with new names, but the same old modus to distract us from truth of our glory found within and in stillness, and keep us tied to the serpent's illusion. Or to quote a line in a famous song, quote, "the same old thing in a brand new drag," unquote. And this throughout the ages. That is the end of chapter 2. Chapter 3 is only a couple of pages, so I will read. Well, let me see here. Okay, chapter 3 is recognizing the energy that isn't you, reclaiming the lost vision. Despite time-saving appliances and technology, the ruses that distract us are always increasing, which means there's less time spent just being. These ruses could be those such as harmlessly processing information, viewing entertainment for hours a day, checking the mainly negative news events, your email accounts, your phone messages, advertisements placed on public transportation, through your door, on TV, making on or by the roadside. All of this invites you to do 4 things. It makes you move your mind, use your imagination and memory, and direct your consciousness on things important to the illusion. Some of the thinking has to assume the concept of time as being real. These are the principalities of the serpent that the master builders specialize in and tether us to the illusion. This busy mind state is different and more unhealthy brainwave state than the original state. It wastes energy on important things important to the illusion, but not to the spirit. The proliferation of technology, so-called convenience, supposedly gives us more time to ourselves. But this increased leisure time is also cleverly hijacked by the serpent to get us to buy more things, to watch more programming disguised as entertainment, or again, to use the mental aspect to participate in externals or play games.
All these things require time and imagination, and so reinforce and encourage dependence on the illusory via our involvement with it. Your attention is your consciousness. This consciousness can be experienced or distracted. It can be both. The serpent's principalities all over the times and the areas in which it can distract you only. I'm just a little over an hour, folks, and I hear my chickens cackling outside, so I'm going to sign off for now. I'm on page 50, so I'll continue where I left off on page 50. This is chapter 3. I hope you enjoyed that. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading, signing off for now.